All right, what is
What's
going
up,
on, everybody?
everybody?
Welcome back. I am Nick Valley from The Mythology,
I'm Jonah Dockenai from Jinx,
and
and we're
this is
Rev Rock Revolution!
And you guys might be wondering, we have a guest this week. Super excited. He's probably very confused why our intro is so chaotic and we say a different thing. Don't worry, that's part of the show. It's not just something we just messed up. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome from the band We the Kings, the incredibly talented Coley Toole. Thank you so much for being here. Super excited. I know we promised you guys an awesome guest last week on the show, and I have to say we delivered. You know, Jonah, it's pretty true.
Yes, I'm so hyped for this.
So cool.
Awesome guy. So,
Yeah, it's gonna be so much fun. I can't believe we actually get you to like do this for like with us. We do this every week just for our own like dumb enjoyment and our viewers, but it's
I was stoked, like, when I was a young artist, like, had I had been in the same situation, like, if one of the people I knew who was in the industry doing it wanted to talk on my show, I would have been stoked. So I'm very happy to do it.
yeah, exactly. We got to be honest, like Jonah, like when he was like, yeah, hit us if you want to be on the show. Like, what was our reaction to that?
Yeah, it was so funny because for those of you who don't know, we know Coley. He's our songwriting coach from the Music Mastermind program that we've talked about before, and we were in a Zoom call, and when we told Coley that we were doing this podcast, and he offered to come on our podcast and talk with us. We were freaking out in Discord. We were like, dude, he actually just offered that, or like we were so excited
We were like
when you
chatting
wanted
on
to come
the
on.
side, like, are you kidding me? So it was so cool. Thank you so much for actually being here. It's so cool. It just shows like how cool Coley is that you didn't just say that. You actually showed up. You came here. You did it. One of the realest, coolest rock stars out there. Super awesome, and I'm so excited to be able to have a conversation with you today. Get to like know you a little bit more because Jonah and I have worked with you on like a more professional basis, so it's gonna be cool, like just to like hang out and get to know you a little bit more today. So on that, like you just said, like when you were starting out, having a platform like this, and someone in the industry coming along. So like, what was your journey like starting out? What got you into all of this in a guitar? Like,
Yeah, I mean, the drums first. Live. I got into live music via the way of drum corps. My father marched in drum corps. He played a baritone, so I got into music like with big brass bands, our drum line, like a wall of sound. That's I was first a wall of sound in your face. Immediately infatuated, and simultaneously with that wall of sound, I was introduced to a show aspect. There's choreography going on. There's another narrative happening. So all of it was so wonderfully overwhelming. So got into the drums that way, and I was so happy to grow up in the '90s. Like, that's where my musical mold was really shaped. Once those bands came along, like MTV, the radio played so much rock music then. It was infectious, and there's only so many places to go to get that feeling, whether it be MTV, the radio, or like the record. There was only so many outlets, so it made it more magical. It really weird.
yeah.
So yeah, so that the '90s music, alternative music for sure got in my blood. Played in an alternative rock band in high school. Also marched in drum line. I played football. I was an athlete, but I loved athletic. Football player in my life growing up. But I also loved being a band dude.
Yeah.
So I had both sets of friends. Actually,
Oh, that's cool. So you're like
and also,
in the middle of everything.
Yeah, like, yeah, I'll wear your uniform and be part of this club, and on these other days I'll wear this uniform and be part of this club. It's like, it's like I liked all these people. So it's like I joined, whatever was awesome. So yeah, I had a rock band called Malpractice.
Ooh, okay.
but it was the '90s, so we took out the C, replaced it with a backwards K.
Of course.
KTIS. I think at that time I was wearing a ball chain necklace. And we played we played every weekend, 3 times a weekend. We played any battle. The band played any club, coffee shop, birthday party, backyard barbecue. We played as much as we could. We had merch. We sold a ton of merch. I mean, we would flyer the town. We would flyer our high school in promotions for shows. That was the only way back then. You know, the internet was so new. And if you did, it was the longest, address to get. You weren't.
It was like Braille back then.
I know. Absolutely, it was going to be that way. So it was the promotion. I was like, here, I'm in a band. Here's my poster. Here's my record, maybe, if you have it, or my cassette. We're playing a show this weekend, or we're playing a party. Come. And before you knew it, we would, on a Tuesday night, we could draw 300 kids. Clubs.
Wow.
Wow, that's
pretty
like so much fun.
Wow,
that's awesome.
People just wanted a place to go. It was such a wonderful time. It's like, hey, you're a local band. You're pretty good. You have original. Yeah, I'll come. I got nothing. I'll get my parents to drop me off.
Yeah.
So,
I totally get that.
So that kept fuel on the fire. So after high school, we did that band kind of formed to another band called Starside. It was essentially the same guys, but a different style of alternative music, I'll say. But we did our first DIY, which was like the worst.
I can only imagine. I hear stories from that era of people doing those kind of tours. So
I mean, we had no business. We hadn't that band doing a show 3 towns away. We didn't have enough fans to go anywhere.
So it was like the one person in the crowd eating corn dogs every day, sleeping in the van kind of story.
100%.
Yeah.
So we had a going party prior to leaving for the tour. Played, and all our friends, they donated a bunch of canned foods and things we could take on the road with us. So we had trunks full of Chef Boyardee, all that type of new stuff. Lived off that crap for almost 2 months. Driving around on vans, sleeping behind venues, sleeping in shady places.
That's crazy.
It was wild. And playing shows that only the bartender was at. And maybe we played 20 people. Probably none of them So
that's
what I mean?
Yeah.
But we had so much fun. We had so much fun in
Yeah. It's funny.
It was the days of VHS still. So I had a VHS like crazy. So we took a filing cabinet, bolted it down in the middle of the passenger van in the driver's seat. And then I bolted it on top of that filing cabinet with all the VHS. And we would watch videos all day. Well it's
this is blowing my mind.
That's
this is
awesome.
Crazy. Wow.
We did that by Road Atlas. We did that tour by Road Atlas. We had we printed out maps from MapQuest because MapQuest. It wasn't there weren't multiple ways. There were no other options. Here's the way, or you look at it, you kind of eyeball how long.
Yeah, you know what's crazy to me is you telling me all this and or us this, and it's I'm thinking about it. It's insane to think 25, 30 years. What shifts and how much the world changes.
So,
I can't even imagine no band coming up, and I can tell you from my own experience, I don't think many people are willing to do this today. And it's just such a totally different world than you're saying, kids coming out. No, I'll go check it out on a Tuesday night. I've been in cover bands, and my friends, their friends don't want to do that. They all have other things to do and social media and whatever. This is a totally different culture, totally different world. Yeah.
There's so many options. The option to type in whatever band you want to see now on the web is magic. If I had that when I was a kid, I had to wait for it on TV. but now like I could see why people aren't going because like I could see that band in the most high def, best sounding environment right now.
Yeah.
But then like there were no other options. Like you had to go out to see bands, and also in the vein of like bands going out and touring and like into the endless of God knows what. You did that because there wasn't a platform for other people to come onto and say, "No, don't do that. It's terrible." You didn't hear about this. You only heard about stories from people doing that.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
Exactly. Like you could see all the time, like Dave Grohl talks about doing that all the time. So you see that and you're like, oh, he ended up in Nirvana and Foo Fighters. This is exactly what I should do. Yeah.
And like, yeah, it's like he's a 1 in a billion chance for sure. But what makes him is that he's nonstop, and you could see it. He could have quit years ago. You know, he's got more than enough money to live off.
Yeah, definitely. For sure.
But yeah, he has that drive. And it's cool to, when I was a kid, to see him be a young man, new in the industry, and like, to watch his arc as I get older. He's older, like, you know, it's really cool to see him doing it, like Pearl Jam. Like,
yeah, I was just gonna say, like, you were talking about all those bands. I was like, there you go.
They're still doing it for the love of like doing it. So like,
for real,
I love it. So, yeah,
yes.
I had that band, and then what the hell? I don't know what happened. You know, a couple of years went by. I moved to Nashville, Tennessee.
All right.
Lived there for a little bit. Definitely got my butt kicked as a it's kind of where I realized I had to be a better songwriter. Knew I was a unique songwriter in that fearless, willing to go there, but my story, and not that I was a country writer, but I sitting with all those pro writers, like you would be around at a coffee or a bar with the guy next, you know, 10 number one, and you would never know, and playing, he wrote them, and you're like, holy moly! Now I got to play my crap song next. That like I don't.
Yeah, that's gotta be wow.
It's intimidating.
It was a wonderfully humbling. But I would go out every night, sign up for those open mics, get in those rider rounds, and be intimidated. Because when you're in a room with amazing writers, on top of listeners who get to listen to best writers, it's like you want to throw up because they will let you know, like, this is fine. This doesn't hold up.
Yeah.
You know, and it's not even about whether it's country music or not. It's the song itself. You know, it was the quality of the itself. So, yeah, that really changed a lot as a songwriter living.
Yeah.
I know this is long, but it's a long arc, Mike.
Yeah, dude, this is fascinating.
Keep going. This is
like,
awesome.
I love
getting into the industry. And then I formed a band randomly formed a band with my friend John, who's a drummer, and I got really into, and I was always, but this period of my life for a few years really into really getting, and simultaneously formed this piano drum duo with this guy. And started writing these funky, weird songs again, based on like I was a big fan of the Doors, but I didn't want to be a blues band. But I liked what I liked about the Doors, for better or for worse, is they put you in a place. Their songs come with so much. In a room, they put you. There's an atmosphere.
Yeah.
Most bands I like come with whatever you want to identify, and they have an inherent atmosphere. So I liked that about them, and I liked that they shuffled. I was a big fan of shuffling on the piano with the drummer. Is a great.
Oh yeah, piano is a way rhythmic instrument than people give it credit for.
You have two percussionists, you know.
Yeah.
Now, a melodic percussionist, a thunder percussionist, and the vocal on top. So we're like, man, we got some pretty good songs. We sound pretty good as a duo because we're rehearsing. Like, let's start playing out. So we started playing out locally, like quickly, like, really. Started selling clubs around New Haven here locally. We decided to do a battle of the bands. I'm always down for bands. Like there's a battle of
Yeah.
bands going
Yeah, of course.
down. Like,
This is so fun.
Totally. Wait, you're talking to Jonah. Jonah's won a couple of them, actually.
Yeah,
So-
we won,
yeah,
we
he
won our
gets it.
first battle of the bands a little bit ago.
and battle of the bands for me is that's the athlete side of me. There's the competitive side. Like I
Yeah.
love all artists, like thing, but I also like when I go to festivals, even now, and I'm on the bill with whatever band I'm playing for. Like I want to slay. I want to be the best on this bill, even if I know we're not going to be. Like I want to be, and I'm going to act like it right now.
Yeah, no. So you
Yes.
basically you carried that athletic and sports background with you, kind of your. Yeah.
Yeah. It's never like this band. It's just like, yeah, I want to be way better than you. I want to win over more people in this than you.
Yeah. Totally. No, I get what you're totally saying. I can totally get what you're saying. It's fun. It's funny out of context if you take it as a clip, but I understand what you're saying.
Right. In rooms where I'm not that band, that's an amazing that band. But, and that's a wonderful thing too to feel that. So yeah, I had this piano drum duo. So we did a duo down in this venue in New York called Crash. I don't know if it's there anymore. And I randomly signed up entered it. We got accepted to go. So I get there, and there's like 30 bands or artists on this battle of the bands.
Oh wow!
And somehow we ended up trying to go first of the night.
Oh.
So and I think it's still sunlight out. Like when we start.
Oh, that's the worst.
The judges are there. The other are there, and there's a lot of people there because there's a lot of fucking bands. So which is nice. So like we're whatever. Even if we play, they're not going to remember by 30 bands. You're going to be fried, whatever. So we played first, left, went, had a good time in New York City, drinking, came back to the venue, had some more celebratory mood. We were like, "There's no way we're going to win this." Stayed the night. By the end of the night, we're like, "Oh, this is almost done. Let's." Sure enough, we won. So the band.
What?
Whoa!
We won. We won this.
That's crazy.
So the prize of that was you get flown to New York to compete in Nashville. So like we won the New York City round.
Got you. Okay.
Nashville round. There might have been one. We won the New York. So they flew us out to LA. And we played at the Key Club there. And there was a few other good bands there. There's one like R&B group. There's this other band that like could have sworn they weren't, but like could have been the.
Oh.
Like
Damn.
Man, these are really good. These sound like that. They were really hitting. So it was a cool event to be part of. We ended up placing second in that. But I think the judges in that were Nuno Betancourt.
What?
Whoa.
Yeah,
Wait, that's so funny you say that. We have an inside joke about Nuno Betancourt on this show because we have this whole joke about Jonah has terrible Wi-Fi and we need fast Wi-Fi. We need Wi-Fi that's the speed of Nuno Betancourt's right hand
level.
So that's full circle moment right here.
Amazing. He was a judge. A person who eventually became my manager for this band was a judge, a guy by the name of Jordan, and then a couple other people. And we placed second, but ended up making this contact, Jordan, who called me weeks later after having found my contact. And I loved the performance, and we kind of kept in a relationship for a minute, and then kept music, and he hooked me up with the production team out of New York. Called Dirty Kicks at the time, and this engineer called Jay Cole, who produced the first record. So I don't even think it was called The Queen Killing.
Wow.
It's very, very, very. This tattoo I have actually this is my band arm tattoo. This tattoo represents it's two like unicorns surrounding like the emblem of the logo.
That is so
That's
cool.
badass.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
That was my fantasy storytelling. My stories got better, my narrative got better, but they were all covered in mystery and these fantasy worlds. So yeah, that band, we made this record in New York City. Like we're gonna make this killer record. Keep playing our shows because we were drawing crowds. Like we were playing New York in
Damn.
July. Yeah, and started getting label attention. So in a time where labels would actually come out, they would send their A&R.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they wouldn't just scroll on TikTok. Yeah.
It's like, you're amazing. Same with publishers. Like, they used to go out and do the scene. If bands could pick up with us. So did that, made this record, and it got picked up by a label called Wind Up Records, who had Creed, Evanescence,
Damn.
I think Punch, Finger 11, Drowning Pool.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow, that's
and this is the time we ended up signing a deal with them.
All right.
And it was I loved a lot of the people that worked at the label. It was one of those typical label experiences. Eventually, we didn't see eye to eye.
Yeah, I figured something like that was coming.
Totally. Partly on, I was pretty steadfast in some of my beliefs, people that I wanted to stay tied to. And they had a business. So, things started to clash. Older me now, as a younger artist, might I have bent a little more to some of what I had to keep going? Maybe. But I don't know. I felt so good of what we had then, like I wasn't willing to.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Like, so even in the sense like that, like the record we made before signing with them, like they bought that record. Like, we wouldn't. This is a record, we made this record as is. We love this record. This is a record you wanted. We don't like it. And I think that kind of started the riff.
Well, that's kind of crazy to me. It's like, I know exactly what you're saying. It's so crazy to me. Like, you signed us because of this thing. And then you're like,
but you
maybe we don't do that. It's like, why? It clearly worked. It got your attention,
Totally. But, I get it from a business standpoint.
I know what you mean, though. It's like, in their mind, they're like, how can we elevate this and scale it? Yeah.
Totally. But I was also afraid of, like, not that I disliked any of the bands that they had. I just thought we sounded so different from those other bands that I didn't want to pigeonhole with them,
Yeah, yeah.
But I was young, and there's certain things I look back now and say maybe I should have been a little more open-minded.
Yeah. No, I totally get that.
But it was that whole experience was amazing. I was living in New York, my now wife. We were living on the Upper West Side. It was a record there, and I was having my, like, John Lennon moment, walk the park every morning, and just feeling the buzz of being a young guy in a band who it's no longer just my friends coming out.
Yeah.
It was really exciting. That was,
yeah.
I still tingle thinking about those. But it was probably one of my most, even though that band didn't fail. My label experience with that band failed, but that band in my mind had a short arc, and we had several tragedies with some of the members.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it definitely stunted the band on an emotional level, on a creative level.
Yeah, I mean.
So I should say that the band did grow. Like, we grew from a 4. I ended up bringing in an organist, a bass.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was an amazing experience. 2 tours. We had a wonderful appearances, a few appearances at South by Southwest. Like, that was a great experience for us. Yeah. So from that, I'm not the arc.
I was gonna say we're not totally there yet.
I think I might have got the timeline wrong. I think these bands flip flop. But while playing we opened up a show for Jack Mannequin here in Canada, and Jack Mannequin was the band Rick Mann. So we played a show, and there's a band called the Hush Sound on it. They happen to. So one of the lead songwriters, forever indebted, kind of threw me in the world. Kind of one of the reasons I made We the Unknowing. Like it has nothing to do with it, but it has everything.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, in the sense that like, so he caught the set immediately after the set. Like, I love your band, man. I really like you guys. We need to keep in touch. I want to write songs with you. Blah blah blah. Like,
Damn.
not just he actually came through. Like literally, like the next day.
Oh wow.
So eventually, yeah, like not long, maybe a couple weeks later, he was back through, and he took me down to New York City to meet his management, Crush, who has Fall Out Boy, Disco, all those. And they were on that. So he brought me down there to meet. He's like, "Hey, this is Coley. This is the guy I want to start
Wow.
this world." And that project was, doomed. Like that, it wasn't going to work, but it was high hopes. But in the midst of dreaming about this, they introduced me to this girl, Poland, at the time was Charlotte, and she was this up and coming girl, kind of in the same similarity as literally the rise of the areas of the capital. Charlotte sometimes ended up, yeah. Katy Perry put a song out called "Girl." Charlotte at the same time on radio, Warped Tour together. Like,
Damn.
yeah, it was like the two girls. One, Katy Perry was like the darker of the two, and then Charlotte sometimes was still dark. Her lyrics are dark, but a little more of the goody type.
Yeah, I got you.
But killer band. We had a killer band. So I met her early. We put the band together. Killer band. This guy, Spencer Peterson, who now does drums for this DJ called Griffin. He was just out drumming for who sings that song? Kid Leroy.
Oh, Kid Leroy. Wow.
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
Badass drummer. He's a badass drummer. Spent many years on the road with that guy.
Dope.
Playing out sometimes. So anyways, yeah, that band was on Geffen. That was an amazing experience because like that was my first like this is bro. Like Gacho League, I don't know if you know who he is, mixed a record. Like so we got to hang out in his studio and check out his gear and just be involved. Like Jimmy Iovine, I was at parties with.
What?
Oh man, yeah, like this is a baby that was being put through, the top.
Yeah. Well, around
That's
when,
insane.
what timeline around, like it as far as like
That was
between each other?
That was 2000. That arc was probably 2005 to 2009,
Yeah.
and that was coinciding with the Queen. The Queen Killing Kings was still a baby band. Actually, yeah, a baby band in the beginning of that arc, and then towards the end of Charlotte's Son, the Queen Killing Kings started.
Yeah. That's really
So-
funny. 2005. That was the year I was born.
Really? Oh my
That's
God.
crazy.
I was traveling cross country. And,
That's
like,
nuts. That's
yeah,
nuts.
Oh.
That's nuts.
that is.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was really cool inside look at like the top, like the palette, like how many people are involved in one. Like
Yeah.
I would wait and see myself on VH1. She'd already shot a know we were at, and the band was in it. So it was like I think I was living with my grandmother at the time. I was like, "Grandma, check this out!" Like,
Oh, that's awesome.
Totally me though. I would do the same thing.
Same here.
oh, so it's everything you manifested when you were like doing it in in your room or with your friends in the garage or in the basement.
Yeah.
So any little thing that seems any part of that world is amazing, no matter how big or small it is. So
Yeah.
like I'm grateful for like
Yeah.
every little part of it. So that was wild. So from then, we the Kings was a baby. And, they did their first headline tour called the Long Hair.
Mhm.
We was tour, and I became really good with that whole.
Yeah.
And at that time they were a 4-piece. Hunters, the other guitar players, brother Clay. That's when I met Weedy.
All right.
So this all ties back to Bob again. Who had I not met Bob, he didn't introduce me to Crush. I would have met Charlotte sometimes. I wouldn't have met Weedy.
Wow.
In that sense, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I got
so,
you.
And me joining We the Kings was literally a phone call. They called me and said, "Hey, "Want to?" And you are the first person.
Really?
Everything we wanted.
That was it was a phone call.
Oh, there was no audition. Like, hey, do you want to join our band? We're leaving for tour in like 2 weeks.
Wow.
Oh, that's trippy.
That's like a movie.
Oh yeah, it was wild. I was literally driving. I think I had just accepted a job to be a head director. Like they're going to open a new school of rock in the town I was living at the time. And
Wow.
I had director of that. But that school hadn't opened yet, and like days later, I literally got that call from Weedy.
That's like two different paths, like apples and oranges, man. That's crazy.
Well, it was weird because I'm driving in the car with my wife, and I got a text message that said from this guy Scott, who was their tour manager at the time, said, "Welcome to the family." I was like, "What is that?" So random.
Before they called you. That's great.
Yeah. And literally like 30 seconds later, Travis called me. He's like, "Hey, you know, we all talked about it. We want to. You were the first person." This was after they just. Yeah, I was gonna do a tour or two, you know, on my own. Like, I'm gonna see what it's like.
Yeah.
What year is it now? Here I am, 12 years later. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like most bands don't last. You know.
Yeah. No, totally.
So to be like a new member, and 12 years in, it's wild.
Yeah.
You know?
So that is so cool. Like, it's got to looking back at that, it's got to be crazy. It's like you do these kind of shows now, and I saw We the Kings was doing when we were young. But it's got to be nuts doing that sort of stuff, and then being like, oh my God, like there was the time when, you know, if you had pulled this over, it would look like we were illegally selling Chef Boyardee products.
That's why, like, all sold out shows, tour buses, like anything that is better than what was is like you really appreciate it because you knew what a show. You know what a show is like when nobody plays, nobody comes. You know, you you walk into a sold out place, really, and never take it for granted. The minute my favorite part outside playing is the minute those lights go out, where you walk on crowd, even as a fan, the crowd goes. That is like I carry that.
It's so great. Yeah,
so
I totally agree with you.
Because think
Jonah,
about,
like, what were you gonna say?
No, because I just think of how many years you know, no lights went out and you walked up on stage, crickets, you know, or giggling under their breath. So it's I appreciate it.
People can laugh all they want, right? I mean, look at where you are now.
Yeah, it's been a wild ride. It's definitely been work. It's a lot of work, I will say. What people don't realize is the amount of work that goes into.
Oh my God, yeah.
The toll that actually takes on you, the toll takes on you emotionally, mentally, your family, and all that. So it's a lot of work to get a living. I will.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Well, speaking on that, like, how would you say, like, and obviously we talked about the difference of like how it is, like, just like the entire culture of like a tour as opposed to then versus now. But like you just said, like having a family, being older, being in this. More experience, being in this landscape and the social media age and just everything about it. Like, how would you say, like, what are some of like the main differences or like things you were like, yeah, like that's besides like the obvious things?
I think
of like I'm big and I wasn't.
Yeah, totally. I think what fans expect of bands now like from a personal level is different because the connectivity they have to you. You know, they're
Mm.
like, you know, they follow you online. So if you're actively posting online, they feel very much part of your life, which is awesome, and that's part of the thing. But back when I was young, you know, when I started, that didn't really exist. You know, you put these bands on a magical pedestal in the sense like the show's over, they disappear into the vapors back in their spaceship, and you go on and live in that wonder. You know,
Yeah.
of
You know what's
you
funny
know,
is you say that is speaking of Nuno again. I saw an interview with him, and he said something very similar to that, along to that effect. Is like when I first listened to Van Halen 1, and it was like all I got was that front cover, that back cover, and the record, and everything else was left to my imagination. And it was funny because I was like, obviously you know like my band, The Mythology, but it was funny. He kept saying over and over again, like. There was like he kept saying there was a mythology to it. It was very mystic and like I feel like that's exactly like what you're saying. It's like there's nothing left to the imagination when you show up. It's like I'm going to see this person rather than I'm going to experience this. Like no one else is going to know what this is like because there's no taking photos and posting them on Instagram the next day.
that's the other amazing thing. So, but it's also like for some people it works. Like not having that veil there works. Like a good example is like a band like Blink 182. You know, like it works for their character, and but even so, it's I like my bands and my heroes, not their dreams or where they are in life, just like their like you know.
Yeah.
And to say I couldn't say met, but via the internet, I've been able to like listen to some of my heroes talk, and I've learned that I don't like a lot of them as
As people.
art.
Yeah, that's great. I think Jonah and I have had a discussion or two about that on the podcast.
Yeah.
Most I do, but I find someone's like, wow, like I'd rather not know you like this, and you know, so.
Or it's like I have so much more respect for this person because I like them now, and like I love their music so much more because I like them.
Totally.
The opposite is true too.
I'm also saying all this because I like my personal privacy.
Yeah.
I love being, you know, a face as part of the band and all that, but like outside of, I'm not too involved in like posts all the time.
Yeah.
And it's just like, you know, I find that it for me personally stunts my moment. If I stop my momentum to it, for me.
Yeah, I totally get that.
Some people are better at it.
Yeah.
I don't do it.
But it is interesting, like, and it's funny you say that, and like at the same breath, it's really cool, like that, like, and there are, like, there's a Jonah and I have talked about this more than like anything else on the show. There are upsides and downsides to this entire culture that we live in today, and as opposed to, but one of the things that's really great, and Jonah and I agree, I'm sure you agree with this too, is like the fact that we have a platform like this, where we just get to discuss things on like our terms, what it is we want to put out there, and we get to right now we're discussing like your journey, how you got to this point, the importance of like music in your life, and like all of those things are really positive things. And then there's the downside to that. And like you had said when you were in Nashville, like people just tell you like, you know, you're like, oh, that's not you know, you would know if something's not good or whatever. Nowadays with the internet, and we talk with the trolls that we have to deal with every single day when we post.
Oh my
it's like, it's wild. It's like everyone has completely lost their filter and not in a good way. And that's that downside to me. Like,
well, yeah, totally. Because what I love about it now is that we didn't have them as the connectivity. Like, you don't need the label. Like, you don't need my arc to get, you know.
Yeah.
To be, it's totally, you can control everything now because you have it at your fingertips.
Yeah.
That's also the problem because everybody. There's no more gatekeepers. There's no more threshold saying no.
This is not good. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a lot of traffic. I love the artistic freedom, but there definitely is a lot of traffic.
Yeah.
So yeah.
No, but it's exactly what you're saying right there about Like, and I think Joan and I had this exact conversation maybe an episode or two ago. Just about like that whole process of like, there's no one like standing there going, okay, like this is good, this is not good. And like the things that get let through, and it's all a popularity contest. And that drives me crazy. And what you were saying, and you just said people don't need your arc, but at the same point, I feel like there was a beauty to your arc and the kind of story, because like you just said before, you can look back at that and appreciate how you got to where you are now. And it's a journey that you are able to reflect back on. And nowadays it's like people go from like not being known at all to blowing up on viral, and then they're just out there and they're thrown to the wolves, and you know.
They can't manage that's the thing. Like most of the bands, when like I was young, by the time you got signed or known, you were already good. Because you played so much. And that's why you got signed. Because like, okay, they're already doing it. Whether you were a celebrity or not. You know, they didn't. Now it's very much based on celebrity. And like, it really is. And I'm not a celebrity in that sense. Like, I'm a great, but I can't turn it on.
No, I totally agree.
Hard thing to do.
and it's
a hard thing to do.
It's really hard. Yeah, and it's like people made like, and you see this stuff all the time. It's like these great bands. A lot of them, you can go back to their first record, second record, third, and you can see there's like a progression of them getting better, and they're developing. And this is the thing that has bothered me about the industry more than anything nowadays. It's like, and Jonah, we said this before too, but it's like it's almost like A&R. Like, what are you doing? Like, your job now is just to like, oh, look, this person is blowing up on TikTok. People like this person. I think we should sign this person. But there's way more to that in the music. And there's so many great, talented people who are not as far as they should be because they don't do that turn it on celebrity thing like you're talking about. And it's just wild to me that that's how the industry works nowadays. And that's what they look for.
Well, I mean, I guess at the end of the day, it's a business. And I can see from an industry side when you're trying to make dollars, like if you have a person that can turn on that celebrity, then yeah, we want this person over this person, even if that person's like amazing artist, but like they just don't see the star power. The problem is like they don't put time to develop the star power.
Yeah.
Like I like you can have it in you, but like it needs to be brought out. Like there's so many stars you can think of like that are amazing now, but when they first start out, they weren't half the thing they are now.
Yeah.
You know, and they've been surrounded by so many all these years pulling it out. So that's the same token. There is no A&R now. It's like, are you a celebrity? Can we sell you? Do you have songs we can work? If not, we got a Rolodex full of A-list producers, you know, that can drop you a track right now. And nothing against any of it, but like from a guy who loves bands, I also hate it. I want to stare it in the face. And, you know, so it's like, you know, being in a band is hard. Getting people to work together and agree on songs, shows, being at the same place at the same time, like, or it's hard. And then living with it is hard. I get why labels are reluctant to sign because it's hard to keep together.
Yeah.
So
totally.
But I still love, to me, there's nothing when you, whether it's a solo artist, even if it's a solo artist, I still like to see when there's nothing like seeing a group of humans making music.
Yeah, totally.
So I'm kind of over I'm a celebrity. Here's my track. Here's my microphone. Here's also the track of my lead vocal in the house that I'm going to sing over. What are we doing?
It's nuts to me. Yeah. What was it that Wolfgang Van Halen said something like that? It's like, it's insane to me that you have these acts nowadays. It's like the basic band that you see on stage, the drum, like if there's a drummer, a bass player, a guitar player, and a singer, this is your core band. And they're all playing the tracks. They're all lip syncing or playing. That's wild to me. It's like, why? You know, it's like, you don't want to put the time in. Yeah.
It's the illusion of it. And like, I hate to knock it. It's a different world than I live in. But as a guy, not as an artist who just loves watching people mess up, people get really, really, is like that's everything about music. Like
the magic
the
of
beauty of
music
it.
is the idiosyncrasies of it. Like it's
the uncertainty of it.
yeah.
You know, I also loved it. Like I saw Justin Bieber once, probably one of the best concerts ever. It was mind blowing. Like,
Really
the orchestration of the show, the arrangement, band was unbelievable.
awesome.
I mean,
I like to hear that.
but even even no matter how perfect that show is, there's still anything can happen. Anything can happen.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that bass amp can go out. That drummer could pass out right now from God knows. Like
Yeah.
I like that's what I love about the live. Anything can happen. When it's pulled off, when it's executed very well, it's like,
Yeah.
oh man, you leave shows satisfied.
Definitely. Yeah. And I think it's hard for us as musicians, like, to see there's two sides of it, the consumer side and the business side. And they kind of go hand in hand with each other. Mm-hmm. But it's hard for us because we're so in it and we just have a totally different world viewpoint. But I asked, it was really crazy. So we talk about this a lot and what's trending right now and what's going on and what kind of music people are listening to and kids our age. Like this is a lot of what we cover on the show. And I asked a really good friend of mine. He doesn't really listen to this kind of stuff, but he's still in high school. He listens to, like, his friends all listen to this kind of music. And I'm like, why is everybody so into like the trap mumble rap that, like, I don't understand it at all, but it's like super trendy. It's all this noise, the sounds on TikTok. And I'm like, I don't get that. Why do they, he goes, don't you get it? He goes, what happens at these parties, he goes, is teenagers, he goes, they go to parties, he goes, and they drink and they dance mindlessly to this music. And like you just said, people on a Tuesday night would go see your band live. That's what they're doing. It's almost like background noise as opposed to an experience. And that's wild to me. But again, I'm a musician. Jonah's a musician. You're a musician. So we don't really understand that world. And the business side goes, this is a mass majority of our market. Let's keep pushing
so
this.
Go for that.
And they keep making money. And I get it. They want to keep making money, but it's just wild to me that, like, people used to sign acts that they believed in. Now they need to sign acts that they know are sure to make them money. Because back then they could just push anything they believed in on the radio and it would become pop radio because they would go, this is what everybody should be listening to. And that was music. But nowadays it's you can't control the audience anymore.
Mm-hmm. Which is nice. Ultimately now the people do get to decide. Well, like the people champion artists, like they pluck them from obscurity. Somehow somebody's SoundCloud page like just blows up. I love hearing those stories when the people decide, you shall be, you know.
Like Billie Eilish, like awesome.
Yeah, right. Rather than being jammed down your throat, that was different. Like so when I was growing up, like bands like were jammed down your throat, even if they were terrible. Like, oh man, you couldn't escape. Like labels would spend that radio money to play the crap out of songs.
Jonah's laughing because he thinks it's about a specific band that we've both joked about on the show before.
It's about many bands from that.
Yes.
So many bands. Like, and I don't want to knock them, like, because but so many bands are like, this is popular. Like they really lucked out that they were in a time where they were selling records for not only records, selling millions of records for their redemption. Like they so hopefully they have good deals in that. But that's the other thing. Like nobody's buying records, so there's no guarantee I'm going to make money.
Yeah,
so you have to be. I have to be able to brand you to something. I get that.
Yeah,
like I totally get. If I owned a label, I would be after. Unless you were an amazing band, like the most marketable visually people, like you kind of need to have so much.
No, yeah, and I totally agree with you on that in the sense of there does need to be marketability and there does need to be some sort of like we can put money behind this and like people will like this. Like for example, like were playing live with your band and people showed up, people really responded to it and labels started paying attention to you. That totally makes sense to me, because then that's okay. People like actually like this thing but we also like this. I hear too many stories nowadays is like labels are signing things they don't like because they know they're going to make money. And that's crazy. That is crazy to me. Yeah, people they don't want to work with, that they can't stand the music, but they're like, this is, you know how much money we'll make, how many award shows, how many tours, how much merch we'll sell from this person.
Like, I wouldn't mind it if that money was being pumped back into like developing more bands. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Yes. Exactly. But they're not. They're just recycling it back on this person so they could make even more money.
Too much money in bands. Like, there's like, that's a terrible, a band is a terrible business. It's just,
it
like,
really is.
It really is. But it's like the best in the world. If it, you know, like at whatever level it works out for you, like, because it fills that need that you have.
Yeah.
So,
totally.
But yeah, it's so hard. It's so hard. But nor would I want to be a solo artist. Like, there's a lot of pressure in it. Like, a lot of pressure.
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, I think that's why Jonah and I both developed band projects that are like, I guess, I don't want to say they're solo acts disguised as bands, but like really like the kind of setup where like if we ended up getting label attention, we would really be the person signed to the label, but it's branded as a band.
Doing all the work.
And I think that's a huge part, because in the society that we live in, and this was a huge discussion like with my parents when it was like, I want to be in a rock band and I love, it's like, how are we doing this? Like, it's just a totally different world than like when you were growing up, and it's like after school, it's like I hang out with this bro, we're going to get together and we're going to jam, and, you know, we're going to suck at first, but then we're going to, you know, play a little bit more, and we don't suck that much, and maybe we'll have our friends come and watch us, and, oh, they say, oh, did you work on this? And it's like, oh, and it becomes a group collective effort where eventually we're pretty good, and like the whole neighborhood likes us, and then the whole town likes us, but that kind of stuff just does not happen anymore, at least not like in where I am at all.
But what will happen, regardless of like the fans are having to play the shows, like if a label or anybody comes along and there's a group of you, it's all going to come down, okay, well, who writes this? You know, you're all going to come to that real, like, if you all don't have this agreement, are we sharing this record deal? Are we all signing this deal? It's like, that's where like the tip begins.
Yeah, really.
It really does. Like, for the long, in a non-pre-established thing. You know, most bands are like a vision of a person or two people, you know?
Yeah.
Like, what, you know, and then becomes a band. I've never really been in a band where everybody's writing. Maybe Rush. Like, those trios can get away with it, but like... Trios,
yeah, I was just going to say, that's really the only time.
Yeah, maybe Fleetwood Mac is another... Now there's probably a list. It's just open up. But
definitely.
These are exceptions. And with the exceptions, they are on the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So, but yeah, so it's usually that. So labels usually want to sign that person to have all the oil.
Yeah.
So there's more value in them because, you know, if these Joe Schmo cause any problems within the contractual things, you know, we can't cancel them out.
Yeah, exactly.
So strategy going on, but from a longevity point, there's also another thing to be said. It's like, yeah, I want us to do this together for as long as we can. Creates a loyalty thing.
Yes.
So,
definitely. It's two sides to, you know, to everything. It's kind of it's kind of crazy. On that topic, and talking about the new world and everything, like, what is your like perspective on, I don't know how much like you've seen or like you know, kind of like, I guess, like what it is like we're about, or like what we're trying to, you know, what we're doing, like with the whole term Rev Rock, and like new bands coming up. Like, I'm sure you've seen Mammoth, WVH, Wolfgang Van Halen.
Warning.
Kind of like what we're doing, like The Warning. Yeah, like your perspective on the newer bands coming up the pike, and kind of like, I guess just like also how you see that going, and like how you see that succeeding, and just, you know, I'm just curious to get your like standpoint on this.
I love that bands are still. It's funny to me that rock music is considered such a dead thing. Yet, like, there's some of the largest shows going right now.
Oh yeah.
Go to see rock music. It's one of the most exciting things. So it's funny, you know, chart wise, it's a non-existing thing in the face of most people.
Oh yeah.
I do love that new bands are coming out. The only thing that scares me is, like, to get that popular appeal, they all get pigeonholed into the playlisting, the radio, and they all start to sound the same and write the same type of, and they're not daring. Rock music is definitely one place you can be daring. You can be daring and still be
definitely.
You know, and a lot of bands aren't pushing those boundaries as the early rock bands would.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
They're
It's
playing
like,
it. Plus, some of the new productions are kind of killing it for me in the sense of like it's almost too much. Like, these drums are like drums are so sampled, or are these? I can't tell what these are. It's like,
oh, I know exactly what you're saying. There's a sub, like, not. I don't think any of the bands that we're involving in the movement that we're trying to encompass here, but I know exactly what you're saying. And there's these different types. There's the group of people that you're talking about, which is like, it's like super compressed and like sampled, almost programmed sounding drums. And it's just all those records sound the same. There's the super screamo, like super bright, and then super just like dark. Like, you know exactly what I'm talking about. That modern version of that sounds the same.
I hate that we program people to listen to that. Yeah, it sounds awesome, all smashed in your face, but like, that's not a drum set.
No, it's crazy.
Like, you can make drums that's not how drums sound. And if I went to a show and like that, I'd be like, can you please turn those things down? Like just smash. But I get it. People like it smashing in your face. Everything's super compressed, super quantized, which, again, in rock music, I don't understand.
Oh my God, the quantization and all the tuning, it's crazy to me. It's like, what is going on?
I could see it done for taste, or for, you know, for artistic flair and certain things.
Yeah.
But like, the whole track is just like, it makes me feel nothing. There's no too perfect. It's too,
it's no human aspect to it.
Is that what you would say? Why? And I think this is a great, like, where I think we all are trying to get at here. Is that why you would say rock has gotten to the point it is where it is? Because of the type of environment and that TikTok culture I was talking about today, and the kind of music that is trendy and stuff. Why it's not so important is because rock is trying to chase the trend thing, when it's always been about not being the outside thing. And that's why it's not so relevant, is because it's trying to sound like the other stuff, when that's defeating the purpose of it.
Totally. It's like, and yeah, you also have this new crossbreed of pop producers making rock records.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, bringing their influence, sound of it, which is a good thing too. There's a lot of records I've loved that have been made.
Yeah, no, and like I was just saying, innovation is an awesome thing, but when you're trend chasing, it's a totally different thing.
Well, especially like, once we all get to the same time here, or like all those songs, and they all start sounding the same song, but then sonically you can't differentiate, because all the drums sound the same, all the guitars are the same timbre profile, like.
It gets very derivative. You could just put it on in a playlist, and you wouldn't even be able to tell when the song shifted.
Totally.
And that's crazy to me. And I feel like that's like almost what started to happen towards the end of the 80s. a little bit. You know what I mean? Like when we started getting to Jonah, and I joke about this all the time. When She's My Cherry Pie came out, that was the tip. That was the tipping point.
That's fine. Okay.
Where it was like, okay, something needs to change here. And then grunge happened, and it was like mind blowing to everybody because all these bands, and this is what we want to do with Rev Rock, is they didn't sound the same. Like it, and that's why grunge artists hated being called grunge, because like what you're labeling us when we don't sound like each other. Like what is grunge? Like none of us sound like each other, but they all had a similar energy, vibe, aesthetic, which I think is important. But when you start going into we all sound exactly the same and you can't tell us apart, that's where it starts to get dangerous. And I think and you could tell me what you think about this, but I think the only way rock is going to succeed is if a lot of us like band together and just do what we want instead of trying to chase what we think everybody else wants. Because I think that's more attractive, is just walking, leading, and not looking behind, seeing who's following us.
Totally. Like, that's why I listen to rock music. And I think most loyal people listen to rock music for that very reason. Like, yeah, most people listen to music to go places, but in particularly rock music for me, like that's the area, like you don't need to keep it any constraints. I don't need radio edits. I don't need like yeah, and I want artists. I want to be surprised. I want to be maybe no money left in surprise. Maybe only it's hard to start a company on surprise. You know,
yeah.
Records are going to get better with time and more creative. Like so many things. But yeah, I miss the innovators. They're all
they're out there. I think a lot of them struggle with
not getting pushed.
That celebrity face social media thing that we were just talking about, and that's the problem.
Because most of the great ones would rather spend their time innovating than like being on the thing, doing the thing. You know, like they're that's where they feel like this celebrity people.
Definitely. I mean, that's exactly what we're all about, and exactly where I see everything going, because in the social media world, everybody's fighting and clawing for themselves and trying to be seen and get that attention. Oh, I have to play this game and I have to be trendy, whatever. And I think like the scene thing kind of went away because of that, as people aren't banding together. Everybody's fighting for themselves, you know?
Especially like when I first heard the scene wasn't to me a fan thing. I learned that the scene is like on the band, like the early days of like the emo. These are a family of bands that are helping each other, and one would get bigger and bring the little ones out, and then one of those bands would get and bring that band out on tour. All like continual helping each other, getting there. And then one of those bands would be the big band out of that.
Yeah.
That, you know, I talk about that, like the early days of Vagrant Records, who had Dashboard Saves the Day, the Get Up Kids, through those other early emo, Outline Trio, and you know, they would all just play with each other and like, you know, get more popular from playing with each other. It would be the thing. They would do this Vagrant Across America tour where all of their bands would be on the tour. You know, kind of like those cool festival tours, like here's all the artists. You know, we have all our featured artists, like that Thing You Do style. Like so it was cool to see. It's a cutthroat game now, but it still exists. Even with the Kings, like bands like to bring out their friends. Yeah, and if your friend in another popular band, so it's like, and you know, you hang out with each other. It's like that's really how it works. Unless you're like a new up and coming band, and it's a proposition for everybody to have on tour. But yeah, it's still a small circle.
Yeah.
And then even more, you can pick and choose. Let's pick them out of it.
Yeah. No, you know? It's so fascinating to me. Like, just like the trajectory. It's almost like the only way, like, and like the only way you can really succeed at it is not by being a dinosaur, not trying to do the old thing over and over again, but also not trying to chase the new thing. You kind of have to combine them. And like, if you can bring that, and that's exactly what we're trying to do. So it's so cool that I think it's going to be so cool, like just seeing that. And I really appreciate you like being here today and supporting us. And I know you're all about what we're trying to do. So it's super cool that, you know, you showed up, told us your story, gave us your perspective. And actually, I don't know about you, Jonah, but I'll let you say, because I never shut up. He laughs. He knows it's true. Yeah, it just, it kind of like shifted my kind of perspective as to like where everything is now. Just hearing you speak and like your story and where you are now and where you see everything from your position, your standing point in the industry. Yeah. So Jonah, I mean, what is your, before we close here?
Oh, hearing all of your stories, Coley, and what your perspective is, I'm super inspired. And when you were talking about the scene thing, that's like everything Nick and I like were talking about, like when we were trying to figure out like what we want to do with Rev Rock. That's like the exact thing that we're trying to bring out of this. So it was really good to hear all of that, and thank you so much again for coming on our show.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Yeah, though times have changed, and the past had bad things. You know, like none is better. You know, I'm not fighting the past, because there's a lot of things about the past that I'm glad of. But two things never change: the song. Always got to have the song. You know, like to really stick around. You want to stick around, you got to have the song. You can be a flash in the. You want to stick around, you got to have the song. Two, be a good person.
Yeah, totally.
Yes.
So no matter how times, for music and your art, do it well and be.
I don't think that we could say it any better than that. This has been so great. Before we wrap up here, just anything you want to promote, what you're up to now, what you're doing, let our viewers know.
So yeah, We the Kings is getting ready to hit the road again in January with Story of the Year. We're going to go out and support Story of the Year on their East Coast leg of their Page Avenue anniversary tour. But I got a little rock band called Where the Wild Live. I've had for a while with some of my best friends. I keep it on the down low because I'm not a big internet guy, but we're going to be dropping more stuff, and I'm going to be more active on there in case. But yeah, it's my rock project.
Nice.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So I'll keep you on the wheels about that.
Great. I love that so much. I can't wait. That's super exciting. You're the best, man. Really. When we were talking, Jonah and I, about having you as a guest, we were like, there's no better person to have as a guest on this show, because we know you, we love you, you're super talented, and you're such, like you just said, you have the songs, and you're a really, really awesome guy. So thank you so much for being here. It's been really, really fun, and it'll be really cool looking back, you know, in the future, back at this and this moment and where we were at, and having this guidance has, you know, it's more valuable than anything else. So thank you so much. Loved having you on the show.
Thank you.
Yeah, awesome. Well, until next time, we'll see you guys next week, me and Jonah. I am Nick Valley from The Mythology.
I'm Jonah Dockenai from Jinx.
And this is Rev Rock Revolution. Awesome. Great episode. This one was so much fun. Okay.
This was fun.
See ya. Peace.
Nice.
See ya.
All right, gentlemen. Thank you very much.